You know what that is, obviously. We got our NBA champion. The OKC Thunder win their first ever title. I don't care what anybody said. They said, oh, ever since expansion from the Seattle Supersonics, this is their first NBA title. But devastating and destructive news happened for the NBA as the Pacers lose Tyrese for all of next season, Achilles, that we all found out yesterday. So that's now three franchise players, if you want to call Damian Lillard a franchise player, even, because obviously they got Giannis, but you can say he's a franchise player. But that will be missing from action for the season. So what now? Like, why are these injuries happening before we jump into the champs?
I think it's a little bit of a matter of player strain. I think there's some merit now that we're seeing to the load management era that was just happening in professional basketball, especially with guys like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, Joel Embiid, trying to manage how much they're actually on the floor. Now, a few years ago, I was on the side of no, you signed this contract to play this many games for this amount of money, play the dang games. If you're not hurt, don't rest unless you really, really need to. Like if we're talking like games 80 through 82 at the end of the season, yeah, go ahead and rest. Who cares, especially if you're a playoff team. But a random January game, like a weeknight game, Clippers, Bucks, or something like that, and some mom, dad, and their kids want to go watch Kawhi Leonard and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and neither of them play, that's kind of a bummer. And in some cases, a waste of money. But now we're seeing that the players had some merit there, and they still do when it comes to trying to rest and manage their bodies. Basketball is a very demanding sport, and especially on the lower half, you're doing a lot of running up and down the court, a lot of it sounds silly. It sounds cliche. Like, yeah, you're doing a lot of running and jumping. You do that anywhere. But this is different. These guys are these are human superheroes, more or less, with how athletically gifted and how strong these guys are. At some point, the body just can't tolerate that, regardless of how old you are. And certain muscles, certain bones, certain areas of the human body are going to naturally break down. So this is what we're seeing is an era, or we're seeing the start of an era where load management is actually going to become a reality. And I think that we're going to start to see the NBA shorten its season because it can't afford to have its main superstar talents, its most marketable players, continue to go down like this. We're missing three superstar talents. Say what you want about Tyrese Halliburton. The way he's marketed is like a superstar. We are losing three superstar talents: Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton, for all of next season already because of three injuries that could have been managed during the season.
I mean, it's tough too because these players are more explosive and they cut harder. They do everything much more explosively than they did in the past. If you look at the older eras, they weren't moving nearly as much and nearly as explosively as they do now. And this translates over to football too. They're cutting harder, they're doing everything just a bit more intensely, and they're all stronger, they're faster, more athletic, they train harder than they ever did in the past. And that just makes it so much more demanding on the body, like Sam said. I wouldn't be surprised if they shorten the season to 65, 70 games at all. I think that that's probably about the mark where they can just have more rest days in there. If someone gets a tweak, they should sit out because Halliburton in this series, I understand why he wanted to play because who would want to sit out in a do or die game
You're
seven?
not sitting
It's
out Game
game
7 of the
seven. You
NBA
have to
Finals.
play.
You're not
But
sitting
at the
out
You
Game
same
have
7.
time,
to
there's
play.
so much risk, and the doctors are advising him most likely not to play, and he decided to do it anyway. And he's gonna have to pay the price, unfortunately. You never want anyone to get injured, and it was just really unfortunate that that had to happen again, much like Kevin Durant in 2019.
My take, like I was talking with my dad yesterday, and we've been saying this for a while actually. It's the shoes. When you look at all of the like when you look at back in the day when my dad was telling me, he was like, when you look at back in the day, they were wearing leather shoes with high tops. They were, and you didn't see as much leg injuries and ankle problems and calf injuries and stuff. Now
Now you got
you're
the low
wearing
cut
low top
shoes.
shoes. You're explosive, so there's no guarding the ankle or the lower leg. you're exploding to the basket, you're jumping out the gym, you're putting on weight, you just absolutely just dominating your lower half. So it's like at some point your body can be like, okay, that's enough. So I think it's the shoes because you can't. When we looked at Mike and we looked at Kobe and them, what did they all wear before Kobe actually got into lower tops? Majority, like the beginning of his career, he was wearing high top, mid top shoes, hard leather shoes. Playing on the hardwood, you're playing wearing on leather shoes. Now we have guys wearing the lightest shoes on earth, and they're wearing ankle shoes and ankle socks and stuff. Like y'all need to start protecting your ankle because that's what really ultimately controls your lower leg, the ankle and the foot. So take care of that, and you should be fine. I don't think the league ain't gonna shorten the season because of injuries. I don't think they're not gonna do that. But would we all like to see it? Maybe, or just start the season earlier and you can put more rest days in there.
I think that's a route the NFL is taking as well here pretty soon too. Like the NFLPA and the ownership groups still talking about possibly extending to a 20-week season, but with 2 bye weeks in there for each team. Do the same with the NBA. The NHL starts earlier than the NBA. It starts earlier. There's a lot more days in between games. You don't see as many teams playing every single night. I feel like that's the direction the NBA has to go, and it makes it feel, especially if you shorten the season. I'm on the side of shortening the season. I know the players would throw a fit because then their paychecks would probably take a little bit of a hit. I think if you're going to shorten the season, and this is another conversation, you got to not boost the salary cap for a year or two just to reflect that change, to keep the players getting their money, but also maintaining, like, operating at least in the black and not in the red for a couple seasons. But shortening the season or expanding the length, like calendar wise, we're going to see that soon. We're definitely going to see that soon. And even, I'm not even talking about shortening the season to like 60, in the range of like 60 to 69 games. Just take 8 games off, 74 games, 10% of the season. Just take off 8 games. That's all you have to do. And then you can keep the same calendar length and just remove those games. Give guys more off days, more days to recover, more days for like physical therapy, things like that, to protect themselves and to strengthen their lower halves, to keep guys in the game. And taking out those 8 games adds on a little bit more meaning to those other 74 games so that we're not seeing half-filled arenas in the middle of February when the Charlotte Hornets go to take on the Washington Wizards. That game has a little bit more meaning now, regardless of how competitive both of those teams are, right? Like they could either be competing for the number 1 pick, they can be competing for the last play-in spot, right? So it just gives it a little bit more meaning. And that's what we're going to see soon. The league is going to wake up and realize that this is what needs to be done to still help the product. The product is dying. There needs to be change. Guys are getting hurt. They need to do something.
I think that the biggest thing is when you eliminate those 8 I said move the season back down to 65, 70. I think that's all about in that same range or so. Eliminate back-to-backs because a lot of guys don't play in them anyway. A lot of the older guys, you'll see Kawhi sit out every back-to-back. Heck, even Lauri Markkanen was sitting out back-to-backs this year. There's other guys that do it
Joel
too.
Embiid.
There's a lot of people that just don't play in back-to-backs. So if you're a fan and you know, say Philadelphia is coming to town and you know that Embiid's going to play one of the 2 games, if you're a Wizards fan, you ain't ever going to see Embiid play. You're going to see, I don't know, Gershon Yabusele have 35 minutes. And if Embiid's your favorite player, you're never going to see him, especially on back-to-backs, just because Philadelphia won't think that that's important. So eliminating back-to-backs is, or maybe not all back-to-backs, but definitely most back-to-backs is the easiest way to keep players on the floor more frequently.
And look how long they draw out the playoffs every single year, especially these finals. They know it works. And there's at least 2 to 3 calendar days in between every single finals game. And it went the distance too. The finals started at, what was it? June 3rd? June 4th? It's been almost a whole month. And it just ended 2 days ago. They know it works. Why not do it the rest of the league season? Why not? Start the season in September like mid to late September instead of late October,
Yeah, that's
instead of
November. And you telling
Halloween.
them to play his playoff game in April is insane.
Yeah, exactly. So start the year in September, and then you can play your 82, or keep the year starting in October so there's enough of an off season to call it an off season, and cut the season down to 70 to 75 games. Those are your main options here. Guys are still going to get their money because the product is going to be a little bit more watchable, a little bit more marketable, less guys getting injured. Teams are going to be able to afford to spend more. The league has to do this. The NBA is a dying product. They need to make this change if they want to survive the next 20 years.
Makes
That's
sense.
what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at. 20 years. Adam Silver has 20 years to fix his sport, or it is going to die. European basketball is growing at an alarming rate, especially with the talent. Look at where all the talent in the NBA comes from now. It's overseas, and primarily in Europe and Central to Southern Africa. Figure it out, or they're taking over the sport now.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
So-
not that that's a bad thing, too. Don't get me wrong. That's not a bad thing. I think
Oh
basketball
no,
being a global game
international
is
is really
awesome.
good.
No.
But the NBA being the pinnacle of professional basketball, and now it's going to be dead within a century. Like, look at all the other sports. They've been thriving for forever. Basketball has been around the least out of the 4 major North American sports. And it's going to die before all of them. They got to fix it now. They have to.
So we could jump right into the bracket real quick. Obviously, we know who won the NBA Finals. The Thunder, 2024, one of the second youngest team outside of the Portland Trailblazers. I think what was in the 70s. So here we go. We actually have our graphic now, and the bracket is filled. Oklahoma City is your champion for 2024-25. So what do we take away from? What do we take away from this final? Because I think this is one of the best finals we've seen since probably Giannis and the Suns, probably.
I think it was a really good series overall that just had a damper at the end. Just with how Halliburton went down, and
That was going to set
it
up for
leaves a sour
magnificent.
taste in our mouths because it was a really good series throughout, and it was really entertaining. The games are good, back and forth for the most part. There were a couple clunkers, but you're going to get that in every series. But for the most part, every game was good. The action was good. The crowds were good. I thought the presentation improved throughout the series. It obviously was terrible at first. I think they did a better job towards the end of getting that up. And yeah, it was a fun series. It just ended put a sour taste in all of our mouths with how it ended.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
I
is
mean,
Oh, go for it, Jalen. That's all you.
I mean, obviously, April I chose the Thunder to win the finals, but I really wanted the Pacers to win. Even in Game 7, I was like, I had switched. I had said, the Pacers were going to win this game. With Tyrese Halliburton, and the way he came out, he showed it like it was going to be a whole lot better game than what we saw. But I mean that leg, bro. I mean, I'm telling you. So we got Nazir in here. He's back. He's with us now. How was your weekend, real quick?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah,
you.
we can hear you.
It was great. Good guys won. Bad guys lost. So we're good.
So we just finished up saying we had just finished up talking about Tyrese Halliburton. With all the destructive injuries and devastating, that's 3 franchise players that went missing. So, what is your take on all the injuries that's happening into the league?
At first I thought it was the shoes because it was, a lot of people
That's
wear these
exactly
low.
what I still think it is.
But at the same time, it's like if that's the case, then a lot more people would be getting injured. I feel like, and maybe it's just a workload, bro. Like, I don't like that people keep saying, cut the season down a little bit because everybody play 82 games. Everybody go through the same thing, but
Every team goes through the same thing, but all the players, not
Right.
all the players play every single game still. There's still some essence of load management going on. I think either we need more of that or even cut the season 8 games, just 10%. Make it to 74 games instead of 82.
Yeah, but then
That's enough. That's
but if
enough
you
to
get
add an extra
stats-
off day here and there.
But if you have these stats that look amazing or look, I don't know, don't look good enough, people are gonna be like, oh, he didn't get the games, like he didn't, he didn't get the games that he usually gets, where he could have had the record or something like that. I don't know. So I don't know. I feel like the games should be the regular season should be the same. Maybe change the playoff format, get rid of the play-in or something for some teams. I don't know. Go back to the top 8 teams and try that way again. It didn't affect them because they weren't in the play-in, but just in case, I guess. I don't know, but I personally think it's mainly the shoes, but the game load management, all that stuff, it also plays a part in it.
Well, I think it's the when you wearing them low ankle shoes, bro, you leaving your ankle exposed, and your ankle controls everything on your lower body for real. Because
It
you have
also
to
helps
walk.
you move better though. It helps you
Yeah.
move way better. So it's some pros to it, but
Oh yeah, you're not wrong at all. No one's
it's
wrong
just
in this at all. But when you look
it
at,
sucks.
I feel like the season is starting too late and then it's ending too soon. There's too many games in between weeks. Why don't we start the season at the beginning or at the end of September, in the beginning of October? Why are we waiting to November to start our first regular season, and then in April we're talking about, okay, the season's over? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, man.
It's a whole lot of games. In 82 games, that's a whole lot of games in a week.
Another thing is this though. Like, if you get a calf strain, bro, just don't play. I mean, it's just at this point, like, I know. Look, Game 7, it's your
That's
biggest
exactly
game
what
of
I
your
was
life.
saying.
Biggest game of your life. You don't want to miss it. You're gonna regret it for the rest of your life if you lose. But bro, your whole career is ahead of you, bro. Like I was thinking, like, after Game 6, he looked fine, but you could still tell like it was lingering. Like you know what I mean? Like he was still touching his calf. I'm like, bro, you just can't. You've seen what happened to Katie. You saw 2 others in your conference go down with the same injury, and you still want to play. I get it. Game
It's
7.
Game 7, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, it's hard to tell
I
somebody
know
this.
it's hard,
Even
but
the
bro,
organization probably was like, bro, this is our first championship, and this might be it if we like.
oh yeah, the
There's no
organization
guarantee to
definitely
come
played a
back.
part. Yeah, they definitely played a part in making them play. But like, bro, I'm just thinking, like, anybody would have played. I'm not telling them not to play. I'm just thinking, like, in the future, like, if somebody got that injury, do not play. Like, it's just that simple to me. Like, it's not worth it. Like, he's gonna be out all next year until summertime next year, probably. Maybe he'll play a few games in the regular season or playoffs if they make it. Maybe,
If
but
they
he'll
go
be
deep
rusty.
again, then he'll be back. But that's just he's gonna miss all the regular season,
Yeah,
obviously.
so it's not even gonna be like it's not even gonna be good for him. Like it's just not gonna be worth him coming back until 2026, 2027. So I don't know, man. I'm not saying he shouldn't have played, but in the future, if anyone has this injury, they should not play. It's just that simple to me.
Yeah. We were just looking at the graphic. The graphic is filled. The bracket is filled. We got our NBA champions. Thunder. I don't care what anybody says. It's their first ever NBA title. I'm not counting them nothing with the Supersonics because that's not the Supersonics. So, um, the OKC Thunder is your first NBA title. And the bracket is filled. So let's get your quick analysis, real quick before we move on to the next one because we was on this one for a minute.
Look, man, I got on game 7. I understand Tyrese went down, but the Pacers were still in it. I think that the Thunder went at halftime knowing that they could play the best defense possible because they weren't moving around, they weren't rotating, they couldn't get open besides CJ McConnell for some reason. I don't know what he took in the locker room. He was going crazy.
And
But
props to him, man. He had a
dude, he was
postseason.
unbelievable, dude. He got a fan out of me that game, dude. He was unreal.
He's like the
Yeah,
road runner.
yeah, he was crazy. He was making shots over everybody. But look, man, the coaching really showed, and they ran out of gas. They were still playing so hard, but they took Siakam out pretty much the entire third quarter.
Stupid.
I still don't understand that. And they
Why are we
let
sitting
Miles Turner
Siakam
play.
in Game 7?
They let Miles Turner play like the entire third quarter, which I thought was the worst idea ever because he's not a good center. But Siakam should have been in
Siakam
pretty
should have
much the
played
entire
like 38
game.
minutes.
Should have played the entire game, bro. Like realistically, I mean, maybe take a minute or 30 seconds off.
That's what I'm saying. He should have played like at least 37, 38 minutes.
When he was in the game, they had the most motion, I feel like, and they weren't struggling as much as people thought they were. But him and Mathurin were a pretty good duo. Turner was just getting destroyed on offense. Like he couldn't do anything. Chet was actually playing some great defense. Kudos to him. He grew a lot in this series. I know I was hard on him because he couldn't score anything and help him out on offense, which I still think is a big issue. But he really showed that he can still play, high class defense, and that's what he did. So, this is one of the best defenses we've seen in finals history. It's a fact, or playoff history, or in just history in general. They had like the best differential in the league, and it was like a record-breaking thing. So, good for them, and I'm happy they won. My Shea Gilgeous-Alexander jersey's on the way. Can't wait to get it. And I was thinking Game 7. I'm like, honestly, I wouldn't even mind if the Pacers won because it would be a better story if TJ McConnell and like Siakam beat a crazy juggernaut in them. So, sucks for them, but I'm happy that they got a good playoff run. Even though I was against them the whole time, it was very good to watch, very fun to watch. So, just glad everybody else is healthy and they can just look forward to next year.
So we'll conjunction this topic in with this one word to describe. We're going to do both. One word to describe the 2024-25 season for both NBA final teams. One word for the Thunder and one word for the Pacers.
I'll let Sam go.
This your thing.
So the Thunder, you got to think about it this way. I'm looking at their salary table right now. Going into next year, they're running it back. All they're missing is Jalen with the Y Williams. He's got a club option. AJ Mitchell's got a club option too. They pick both of those up. They're still in a good financial spot, and they're going to be fine, right? They're running it back next year. They have so many picks for so long that they either can take guys with or they can flip them for a superstar to pair up with Shea and Chet and Jalen Williams, J-Dub. The word to describe this Thunder team is dynasty, and I don't want to use that term lightly. This is the beginning of the next great NBA dynasty right here with this championship. Last year, making it to the playoffs as the 1 seed, turning heads in the NBA, and this year they won it all. Say what you want about Tyrese being out. It doesn't matter. They're the NBA champions.
Mm-hmm.
This is the beginning of the next great NBA dynasty. We're looking at the Thunder probably winning 4 of the next 7 rings.
Yeah, that's not crazy to say. I mean, looking early on predictions is not crazy to say, despite, hopefully, God forbid, any injuries. But what pick does anyone know what pick they got? I don't even know if they pick they got this year.
They have 9 first-round picks in the next 3 years.
Good
All right,
Lord.
This is ridiculous.
So they're gonna have to trade someone eventually because they're not gonna be able to pay all those first rounders. I don't
think they care. They got a chance.
The Thunder are pick number 15, 24, and let's see.
Unless they just flip these picks
44.
And get better picks for next year. Who knows?
They do the 2K like my league thing where you just trade like 26 and a second for 25 or whatever and just keep moving up.
So you're telling me they just won the NBA Finals and they pick in the top 15?
Bro, you understand that they could get like a lottery pick and get like a top 3 pick in the next like 2 years? It's insane.
They're going to be gross for a very long time.
I mean,
shout out Sam Presti.
For
one word. All right, go
Legend.
ahead and give y'all Chris and Nas. Go ahead and give y'all one word to describe the Thunder first.
I personally think Thunder is just greatness at this point. I don't think we're at dynasty yet. I have to see it next year. I don't want to push anyone's buttons saying dynasty. So I'm gonna say greatness because we're looking at greatness. We have the MVP, Finals MVP, and just a scoring leader. We got the top 3 player in the world, and he's just amazing to me. I know people have issues with the way he plays the game, but I mean, he knows the rule book, bro. You can't hand check. You can't do any of that stuff. So.
I had issues with him in the regular season, but when I saw him in the postseason and how he couldn't miss, I was like, okay, he actually looks like Kobe. So
Pacers, I would say, man, I would just say like gritty. Those guys do not stop, man. I look, I understand I was, kind of crapping on them the entire playoffs because obviously they beat the Bucks, but just watching them play and just get back into these games, just straight grit. And it's just it was unbelievable to see. They almost pulled off a top 2 playoff run ever. So, congrats to them. But gritty, but it just came up a little short.
I think for the Thunder, I'm going to go Clamps just because of how good their defense was the entire postseason, especially in the finals. We saw it on full display. Halliburton went without a single field goal in game 5. They were able to just lock down anybody that they faced. The torture chamber is a real thing. And then for Indy, I'm going to go with Ice just because of how good the ice in the veins that they had at the end of games, just to pull off those improbable comebacks series after series. Halliburton had a game winner in every single series. Think about that.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I mean, that's crazy. Look at this. This is fun. This is gonna be. I mean, unless the Magic.
Sam, what's your Pacers one?
I told you guys this. The Magic could make some crazy noise next year. Now the Celtics just got Anthony Simons too. I don't think he's gonna have a breakout season, but he could.
You know
what I mean?
You know how high I've been on the Orlando Magic in the past. I like that team still. But my one word to describe the Pacers, and it sounds a little silly, but it's first. Because they're the first team to do a lot of crazy stuff this postseason. They were the first team to win down double digits with a minute left in a postseason game, and they did that 3 times. First team to ever do that. First Indiana Pacers team to force a game 7 in the finals, and they nearly won it. They're almost the first Indiana Pacers team to win an NBA Finals. So I think this is the first of a lot of great things for this organization. Yes, they're going to struggle a little bit next year. That goes without saying, especially when you lose a star talent like Tyrese Halliburton. You're going to struggle a little bit, especially at first. They're going to have to figure out their identity, and especially this offseason, they're going to have to figure out how they're going to replace that production. But this year is the first year in a long string of success that we're going to see for this Indiana Pacers team.
Trade Miles Turner.
They would have been the
trade
first 4 seed to win the. They would have been the first 4 seed to win the finals.
Turner is a free agent this offseason anyway, so
Are we the
he
4th
could
seed?
just sign somewhere else. I bet you someone. I couldn't tell you who, obviously, but maybe the Lakers, just because the Lakers need a center so bad, give him just an outrageous bag and he goes and chases it.
Dude, trade him to the Lakers. Trade him somewhere. Stop. He's been on the trade block ever since he got there.
The Lakers are going to throw $22 million at Brook Lopez, and they're going to have to learn to like it. So,
one word, Jalen.
I would say the Thunder are gritty. I mean, that defense is. Yeah, that the defense is just too gritty. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, you can't. You barely could even score. I mean, you barely look, they held Anthony Edwards to one of the worst field goal percentages he's ever had in the playoffs, for real. And that's AE. But I would say the Pacers, resilient. I mean, them dudes just never quit. I mean, they would be down 15 multiple games in these playoffs, and they would just find a way to win games. And for them to do it in game 1 of the finals, that's just resiliency. But yeah, I would say the Thunder. I'd say they're more gritty because they were all over the floor. Caruso all over the floor. Dort, J-Dub. They just had a hand on everything, and nothing was clean. Like I'd say those are my 2 words for them.
Is it crazy, before we move on really quickly, that the East is the Knicks to lose next year?
Not getting Nas. They're not getting Nas. So,
is it crazy to say next year that I would say at this point, with all the injuries, the questions around certain teams like the Bucks, the East is the Knicks to lose next year?
Ooh, Cavs are still there, bro.
The Cavs are still there.
I think Cleveland. I think it's Cleveland.
Cleveland's gonna be the juggernaut, and they're gonna win, and they're gonna be like, "Whoa! Imagine if the Celtics or the Pacers were healthy," and then
you're gonna have those kind of fans.
Cleveland's gonna be the 1 seed again, and there's no debate around that. But I don't think the Magic are gonna be nasty. I do like the Magic, especially with Mr. 3 Rex down there now, Desmond Bain. But I don't think it's necessarily outlandish to say that the Knicks are a favorite out of the East this year. I think they're one of 3. I've got Cleveland. I've got the Knicks. And honestly, with how well the Pacers still played with Halliburton off the floor, the Pacers are still going to be up there too.
It'd be a
They're going to
5.
figure it out. I don't have as much as I did strongly dislike the Pacers as a fan. I know as a person who knows sports that this is a team that will figure it out. Rick Carlisle is the head coach of this team, and he led a Mavericks team to a championship over LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, all at the highest point of their careers. I have no doubts that Rick Carlisle is going to help this team figure things out. So the Pacers are still up there too.
All right, yeah. So,
I also want to give an out of left field shout just because they were so bad this year. I think if Philly gets the right pick in this draft, they could be an outside shout for a deep run this year. I know there's all the jokes about Embiid never being able to play, the conference finals jokes, the podcast P and all that stuff. But if they make the right pick in this draft, with how wide open the East is, I don't see why they couldn't make a run next year.
Well, here's the thing with
Ace
that.
Bailey.
Embiid is the issue. Okay. Now, if he plays, this could get interesting. Okay. If let's just say hypothetically, Joel Embiid decides to somehow play 60 games, 65 games, and rest before the playoffs. I mean, he's still a top 4 or 5 player in the world when he's healthy.
It's not outlandish.
And Tyrese Maxey, top 10 guard in the league. I mean, Paul George is horrible, but never know what happens.
If he can learn how to hold the basketball the right way again, I was just talking to someone about this last night. The Sixers, are we to assume that this last year's Sixers team wasn't a fluke? Like, is that what we're saying if we think the Sixers are not going to be back at the top of the East next year? I think this year was a fluke.
they got a lottery pick.
There's going to be so many injuries. There were so many injuries last year. We barely saw the big three that they had play together. Jared McCain was out almost the entire season, too.
Yeah, this year was a fluke for the Sixers. They're going to be back, too.
What about
people got to watch out for Philadelphia?
They got Grimes off the bench, maybe, or McCain off the bench. They got Maxey, Grimes, Paul George, Embiid.
I mean, Gershon Yabusele's not terrible either off the bench.
He's older though. He's like 29, probably something like that.
Yeah, he had his best season of his career though. That includes overseas. So I mean, the Sixers are going to be there. That's all I want to say about that. I think if there was any year for Giannis to do the 2018 Bron run, it's this year. And that the East is going to be interesting. It's not going to be. I don't think the champion comes out of the East again this coming season. I think it's probably going to be the Thunder again because they're running back the exact same team. Right. It depends on a bunch of other offseason moves. Maybe the Celtics, if they can find something, because Anthony Simons is no slouch. He's a great 3-level scorer, but I think the Thunder are just going to win this championship again.
Can he translate that to the playoffs, though?